Maya's hands shook as she held the steering wheel. The old car made strange noises as it climbed the Rocky Mountain road. She looked at the crumpled piece of paper on the passenger seat one more time. The job posting was simple. Cook needed for remote ranch. Room and board included, must know how to make good hearty meals. 3 weeks ago, Maya had lost her job at the downtown restaurant. The owner said business was slow and he couldn't afford to keep everyone. Maya had worked there for 2 years. She thought she was safe. She was wrong. Now her savings were almost gone. Rent was due in 5 days. This job was her last hope. The road seemed to go on forever. Maya hadn't seen another car for over an hour. Mountains surrounded her on both sides. The GPS on her phone stopped working 20 minutes ago. She was starting to wonder if she had made a mistake. What if this place didn't even exist? What if this was some kind of joke? Then she saw it. A wooden sign that read Blackwood Ranch, private property. Maya turned onto a dirt road. Her car bounced and rattled as she drove slowly forward. After 10 more minutes, she finally saw buildings ahead. The ranch was bigger than she expected. There was a large 2-story house made of wood and stone. Several smaller buildings were scattered around it. Maya could see horses in a fenced area. Mountains rose up behind everything like giant walls. Maya parked her car near the main house. She took a deep breath and looked at herself in the mirror. Her brown hair was messy from the long drive. She tried to smooth it down. Her clothes were wrinkled, but they were clean. She had to make a good impression. She walked up to the front door and knocked. Heavy footsteps came from inside. The door opened, and Maya found herself looking up at a tall man. He had dark hair and green eyes. His face was tanned from working outside. He wore jeans and a blue shirt. Maya guessed he was in his early 30s. "You must be Maya," he said. His voice was deep and calm. "I'm Jackson. Jackson Blackwood." Maya nodded. "Yes, sir. Thank you for agreeing to meet with me." Jackson looked her over quickly. Maya felt nervous under his gaze. She was short compared to him. Her hands were soft from working in kitchens, not rough from outdoor work. She wondered if she looked too weak for ranch life. "Come in," Jackson said. He stepped aside to let her enter. The inside of the house was warm and welcoming. The living room had a stone fireplace and comfortable furniture. Maya could smell coffee and something else she couldn't identify. Everything was clean but had a lived-in feel. "Would you like some coffee?" Jackson asked. "Yes, please," Maya said. She was tired from the long drive. Jackson led her to the kitchen. It was large with plenty of counter space. The stove was bigger than anything Maya had worked with before. Pots and pans hung from hooks above an island in the center. Windows looked out toward the mountains. Jackson poured coffee into 2 mugs. He handed one to Maya. "So, tell me about your cooking experience." Maya sat down at a small table near the windows. "I worked at Romano's restaurant downtown for 2 years. Before that, I was at a small cafe for a year. I can make all kinds of food. Italian, Mexican, American comfort food. I'm good with big meals and small ones." "What made you leave the restaurant?" Jackson asked. Maya felt her cheeks get warm. The owner had to let people go. Business was slow. She didn't want to sound like she was making excuses. Jackson nodded. "That's been happening a lot lately." "The economy is tough." Maya sipped her coffee. "It was strong and good. Can you tell me more about the job?" The ad didn't have many details. Jackson leaned back in his chair. "I need someone who can cook 3 meals a day. Sometimes I have ranch hands who need feeding. Sometimes it's just me. The work can be unpredictable. I keep unusual hours sometimes. What do you mean by unusual hours?" Maya asked. Jackson was quiet for a moment. He seemed to be thinking about how to answer. "I do a lot of work early in the morning and late at night. I might need meals at strange times. Would that be a problem?" Maya shook her head. "No, sir. I'm used to working different shifts at the restaurant." "Good." Jackson stood up. "Let me show you where you'd be staying." They walked outside and across a small yard to another building. It was smaller than the main house, but still bigger than Maya's apartment in town. Jackson opened the door and they went inside. The place was like a small house. It had a living room, a bedroom, a bathroom, and a tiny kitchen. The furniture was simple but comfortable. Everything was clean and ready for someone to move in. "This would be yours," Jackson said. "No rent. I just ask that you keep it clean and don't bring people out here without asking first." Maya looked around. It was perfect. Better than her cramped apartment. And no rent meant she could save money for the first time in months. The job pays $800 a week, Jackson continued. Plus room and board. Maya tried not to show how surprised she was. That was more than she made at the restaurant. That sounds very fair. Jackson walked to the window and looked out toward the mountains. Maya, I need to be honest with you. This place is isolated. The nearest town is an hour away. Some people find it too quiet out here, too lonely. Maya joined him at the window. The view was beautiful. She could see for miles. I don't mind quiet. I actually prefer it. The last few cooks I hired didn't work out, Jackson said. They said the job was too strange. That I was too strange. Maya looked at him. He didn't seem strange to her. Maybe a little serious, but not strange. What made them think that? Jackson turned away from the window. Like I said, I keep unusual hours. I have work that takes me away from the house at night sometimes. The cooks didn't like that. They wanted a normal schedule. I can work with any schedule, Maya said. She meant it. She needed this job too much to be picky. Jackson studied her face. Maya felt like he was trying to decide if she was telling the truth. Finally, he nodded. Okay, if you want the job, it's yours. You can start tomorrow. Maya felt a wave of relief wash over her. Yes, I definitely want it. Good, you can move your things in tonight if you want. I'll give you a key to both buildings. They walked back to the main house. Jackson gave Maya a set of keys and showed her where everything was in the kitchen. He explained that he usually ate breakfast at 6 in the morning and dinner around 7 at night. Lunch was flexible. I like simple food, Jackson said. Meat, potatoes, vegetables. Nothing too fancy. But I eat a lot. The work here burns a lot of energy. Maya nodded. She was already thinking about meals she could make. Do you have any foods you don't like? Not really. I'm not picky. Jackson paused. Just make sure there's plenty of it. As the sun started to set, Maya went back to her car to get her things. She didn't have much. 2 suitcases, a box of kitchen tools, and some books. Jackson helped her carry everything to the small house. Thank you, Maya said as they finished. For giving me this chance, Jackson nodded. Thank you for coming all the way out here. Get some rest tonight. Tomorrow we'll see how this works out. Maya watched from her window as Jackson walked back to the main house. She saw lights come on in different rooms. Then she noticed something odd. Around 10 o'clock, she saw Jackson come out of the house. He was carrying what looked like a large backpack. He walked toward one of the smaller buildings and disappeared inside. Maya was curious, but she was also tired. She had been driving and worrying all day. She decided to unpack and get ready for bed. Tomorrow would be her first day as a ranch cook. She wanted to be ready. As she lay in bed, Maya could hear sounds from outside. Footsteps, a truck starting, then quiet again. She wondered what Jackson did at night that was so unusual. The other cooks had called him strange. Maya didn't think he seemed strange, just private. She decided it didn't matter. All that mattered was that she had a job and a place to live. Whatever Jackson did with his time was his business. Her business was cooking good food. She could do that. Maya closed her eyes and listened to the quiet sounds of the mountains. No traffic, no sirens, no neighbors fighting through thin walls, just wind and maybe the sound of animals in the distance. For the first time in weeks, Maya felt peaceful. She had no idea that her new job would lead to discoveries that would change everything she thought she knew about cooking, about ranching, and about the mysterious man who had just given her a second chance. Maya's first week at the ranch was nothing like she expected. She thought she understood what cooking for a rancher would be like. She was wrong. Jackson woke up every morning at 5:30. Maya could hear him moving around in the main house. By 6 o'clock, she had his breakfast ready. Eggs, bacon, toast, and coffee. Lots of coffee. Jackson ate quickly and barely spoke. He seemed to be thinking about something else. After breakfast, Jackson would disappear for a few hours. Maya could see him working around the ranch. He fixed fences, fed the horses, and talked to the 2 ranch hands who came by most days. Their names were Tom and Carlos. They were friendly to Maya but didn't talk much. What puzzled Maya was what happened after dinner. Every single night, Jackson would eat his meal and then go to his study. Maya could see light under the door, but she never heard a television or music, just silence. Then around 10 o'clock, Jackson would come out wearing different clothes. Dark pants, a dark shirt, and heavy boots. He always carried a large backpack. Maya tried not to be nosy, but she was curious. Where did he go so late at night? What was in the backpack? And why did he always look so serious when he left? The first few nights, Maya went to bed early, but by the end of the week, she found herself staying awake. She would wash dishes slowly or clean things that didn't really need cleaning. She wanted to see what Jackson was doing. On Friday night, Maya was organizing the pantry when she heard Jackson's truck start. She went to the kitchen window and watched him drive away. His headlights disappeared into the darkness. Maya looked at the clock. It was 11:15. Maya went to bed, but she couldn't sleep. She kept listening for Jackson to come back. Finally, around 4 in the morning, she heard his truck return. Maya got up and looked out her bedroom window. Jackson was walking from his truck to the main house. Even in the moonlight, she could see that he looked tired. His clothes were dirty and he was moving slowly. The next morning, Jackson was at breakfast as usual. But Maya noticed things she hadn't seen before. There was dirt under his fingernails. His hands had small cuts on them. He drank twice as much coffee as normal. "Are you feeling okay?" Maya asked as she refilled his cup. Jackson looked up at her. His green eyes were bloodshot. "Just tired. I had a long night." Maya wanted to ask more questions, but something in Jackson's voice told her not to push. Instead, she made him an extra-large breakfast. More eggs, more bacon, more toast. Jackson ate everything without complaining. As the days went by, Maya started noticing patterns. Jackson always left the house between 10 and 11 at night. He always came back between 3 and 5 in the morning. And he always looked exhausted when he returned. Maya also noticed that Jackson ate differently than any rancher she had imagined. He wanted lots of protein, meat at every meal. Sometimes he would ask for snacks in the middle of the day, energy bars, nuts, dried fruit. It was like he was preparing for something that required a lot of physical effort. Maya started preparing special meals for Jackson, high-energy foods that would keep him going during his long nights. She made protein-rich stews and hearty sandwiches. She began leaving snacks out for him to take when he left at night. Jackson noticed her extra efforts. "You don't have to do all this," he said one morning. "I want to," Maya replied. "It's my job to make sure you eat well." Jackson looked at her for a long moment. "Thank you. It helps more than you know." Maya felt a warm feeling in her chest. She liked making Jackson's life easier. She liked taking care of him. It felt different from cooking at the restaurant. More personal. More important. One evening, Maya decided to try something different. Instead of going to bed after cleaning up dinner, she made a thermos of hot coffee and some sandwiches wrapped in foil. She left them on the kitchen counter with a note that said, "For your late-night work." The next morning, the thermos and sandwich wrappers were in the sink. Jackson didn't say anything about them, but Maya thought she saw him almost smile when he looked at her. Maya started leaving food for Jackson every night. Sometimes it was coffee and sandwiches. Sometimes it was soup in a thermos and crackers. Jackson always took the food with him and always returned the empty containers. Maya also began paying more attention to the ranch hands. Tom and Carlos worked during the day, but they never stayed late. Maya noticed that they seemed to know about Jackson's nighttime activities, but they never talked about them. When Maya tried to ask casual questions about what Jackson did at night, they would change the subject. "Jackson's a good boss," Tom told her one day. "He pays well and treats us fair. What he does with his own time is his business," Carlos nodded. "Some people around here don't understand Jackson. They think he's weird. But he's not weird. He's just different." Maya wondered what that meant. What did people in town think about Jackson? What was so different about him? One night, Maya was cleaning the kitchen when she heard strange sounds from outside. It wasn't Jackson's truck. It sounded like metal clanking together. Maya turned off the lights and looked out the window. Jackson was loading equipment into his truck. Maya could see tools, what looked like cameras and metal cases. He was being very quiet and careful. When he was finished, he drove away without turning on his headlights until he was far from the house. Maya's curiosity was driving her crazy. What kind of ranching work required cameras and special equipment? What kind of ranching work happened in the middle of the night? The next morning, Maya tried a different approach. "Jackson, I've been wondering about something. Are there wild animals around here that cause problems? Like wolves or bears?" Jackson looked up from his breakfast sharply. "Why do you ask?" "Just curious. I've never lived in the mountains before. I want to know what to watch out for." Jackson relaxed a little. "There are some animals around. Mostly harmless. You don't need to worry about them." But Maya saw something in Jackson's eyes when she mentioned wolves. A flash of something. Interest? Concern? She couldn't tell. That night, Maya made her biggest batch of food yet. A thermos of coffee, another thermos of hot stew, energy bars, and a whole roasted chicken. She left everything on the counter with a note that said, "Stay safe out there." The next morning, Jackson was waiting in the kitchen when Maya came over to make breakfast. All the food containers were clean and stacked neatly on the counter. "Maya," Jackson said, "thank you for the food. It was perfect." "You're welcome," Maya said. She started making coffee. "Did you have a good night?" Jackson was quiet for a moment. "Yes, it was a very good night." Maya felt like there was something Jackson wanted to tell her. He seemed to be struggling with words. But then the moment passed and Jackson went back to his usual quiet morning routine. As Maya's second week at the ranch began, she realized that her feelings about the job were changing. She had come here desperate for work. Now she found herself caring about Jackson in a way that went beyond just cooking for him. She wanted to know what he was doing at night. She wanted to help him with whatever was making him so tired. She wanted to understand why he lived such a lonely, secretive life. Maya also realized that she wasn't lonely at the ranch like the previous cooks had been. She liked the quiet. She liked the mountains. She liked having a purpose. And most of all, she liked taking care of Jackson even if she didn't understand what he needed to be taken care of. What Maya didn't know was that Jackson was starting to depend on her in ways he hadn't expected. Her food gave him energy for his nighttime work. Her quiet presence made the house feel less empty. And her kindness was making him think about sharing his secrets in a way he never had before. The mystery of Jackson's midnight activities was about to become much more complicated. And Maya's simple job as a ranch cook was about to turn into something she never could have imagined. The storm hit on a Tuesday night. Maya had never heard thunder so loud or seen lightning so bright. Rain pounded against the windows of her small house like someone throwing rocks. The wind made the whole building shake. Maya tried to sleep, but it was impossible. Every time she started to drift off, another crash of thunder would wake her up. Finally, around midnight, she gave up. She put on her robe and went to her little kitchen to make tea. As Maya waited for the water to boil, she looked out the window toward the main house. Lightning lit up the sky, and in that brief moment, she saw something that surprised her. Jackson was outside in the storm. He was loading equipment into his truck just like he did every night. But tonight was different. Tonight there was a dangerous storm. Maya watched in amazement as Jackson worked in the rain. He didn't seem to care that he was getting soaked. He moved quickly and carefully, protecting whatever he was loading from the weather. Maya could see him covering things with tarps and plastic. When Jackson finished loading his truck, he didn't drive away like usual. Instead, he walked toward the barn. Maya had never seen him go to the barn at night before. She was so curious that she forgot about her tea. Maya made a decision that would change everything. She put on her rain jacket and boots and stepped out into the storm. The wind nearly knocked her over and the rain hit her face like needles. But she was determined to find out what Jackson was doing. Maya stayed close to the buildings as she made her way toward the barn. The ground was muddy and slippery. Lightning continued to flash, giving her glimpses of the path ahead. When she reached the barn, she could see light coming from inside. Maya crept closer and found a crack in the barn wall where she could look inside. What she saw confused her even more. Jackson wasn't doing anything with horses or ranch equipment. Instead, he was working with cameras, computers, and other electronic devices. He had maps spread out on a table. He was checking weather reports on a laptop. Maya watched as Jackson packed more equipment into waterproof cases. He put on a heavy raincoat and a hat with a light on it. Then he did something that shocked Maya. He pulled out what looked like night vision goggles. Jackson finished his preparations and headed for the barn door. Maya realized he was about to come outside and find her. She looked around frantically for somewhere to hide. She ducked behind a pile of old fence posts just as Jackson emerged from the barn. Maya held her breath as Jackson walked past her hiding spot. He was carrying a large backpack and several metal cases. He loaded everything into his truck and then did something Maya didn't expect. Instead of driving down the main road, he drove toward the back of the ranch property, toward the mountains. Maya waited until the truck's taillights disappeared. Then she ran back to her house, her mind racing with questions. What was Jackson doing with all that equipment? Why was he going into the mountains in the middle of a storm? And why did he need night vision goggles? Maya couldn't sleep for the rest of the night. She kept thinking about what she had seen. Jackson wasn't just a rancher. He was doing something else. Something secret. Something that required expensive equipment and careful planning. The next morning, Jackson looked worse than Maya had ever seen him. His clothes were muddy and torn. He had scratches on his hands and face. His hair was still damp from the rain, but there was something else in his expression. He looked excited, happy even. "Good morning," Maya said as she poured Jackson's coffee. "How was your night?" Jackson looked at her carefully. It was productive, very productive. Maya decided to be brave. "Jackson, can I ask you something?" "Sure. What kind of work do you do at night?" "I've been here for 2 weeks and I still don't understand." Jackson set down his coffee cup. He was quiet for a long time. Maya thought he might be angry with her for asking. But when he looked at her, she didn't see anger. She saw something that looked like loneliness. "Maya, what I do at night is complicated. It's not illegal, but it's not exactly normal either. Some people around here wouldn't understand it. Some people might even try to stop me." "I'm not some people," Maya said. "I'm just the cook who makes your sandwiches and worries when you come home looking beat up." Jackson almost smiled at that. "You worry about me?" Maya felt her cheeks get warm. "Of course I do. You're my employer and, well, you seem like a good person, even if you are mysterious." Jackson stood up and walked to the window. He looked out toward the mountains where he had driven the night before. "Maya, would you like to see what I do at night?" Maya's heart started beating faster. Yes, I would. It's dangerous sometimes. And it's definitely not normal. If you come with me, you can't tell anyone else about it. Not Tom or Carlos. Not anyone in town. No one. "I promise," Maya said. Jackson turned back to her. "Okay, tonight, if the weather is clear, you can come with me. But you have to do exactly what I say. No questions, no arguments. Deal?" "Deal." That day felt like the longest day of Maya's life. She cooked and cleaned and tried to act normal, but her mind was spinning with curiosity. What would Jackson show her? What was so secret that he had to swear her to silence? Jackson seemed nervous too. Several times during the day, Maya caught him looking at her with an expression she couldn't read. He ate lunch quickly and then spent the afternoon preparing equipment in the barn. Maya wanted to watch, but she had promised to wait. Evening finally came. Maya made a huge dinner for Jackson, knowing he would need energy for whatever they were going to do. She also packed a thermos of coffee and some energy bars just in case. After dinner, Jackson went to his study like always. But tonight he came out earlier than usual. "It was only 9 o'clock. Are you ready?" he asked Maya. Maya nodded. She had put on her warmest clothes and her most comfortable boots. Jackson looked her over and then handed her a heavy jacket. "You'll need this. It gets cold in the mountains at night." Jackson led Maya to the barn. Inside, she could see all the equipment she had glimpsed the night before. Cameras, computers, cases full of tools, and devices she didn't recognize. "Help me load this stuff," Jackson said. Maya picked up one of the cases. It was heavier than she expected. "What's in here?" "Cameras, motion sensors, recording equipment." Jackson lifted a larger case. "Now, this is expensive stuff. If it gets damaged, I can't afford to replace it." They loaded everything into Jackson's truck. Then Jackson pulled out 2 sets of night vision goggles. "Have you ever used these before?" he asked Maya. "No." Jackson showed her how to put them on and adjust them. "These will help you see in the dark. But be careful. They're fragile, and they're worth more than most people make in a month." Jackson drove toward the mountains, following dirt roads that Maya didn't even know existed. As they climbed higher, the trees got thicker and the road got rougher. Finally, Jackson stopped the truck in a small clearing. "From here we walk," he said. Jackson handed Maya a backpack filled with equipment. He took an even larger pack and several cases. Using flashlights, they followed a narrow trail through the trees. Maya tried to be quiet, but the forest seemed full of sounds. Branches creaking, leaves rustling, animals moving in the distance. After about 20 minutes of hiking, Jackson stopped. He put down his equipment and pulled out the night vision goggles. "Put these on," he whispered to Maya. "And whatever you do, don't make any noise." Maya put on the goggles. The world turned green, but she could see clearly in the darkness. Jackson led her to a fallen log and motioned for her to crouch down behind it. "Look over there," Jackson whispered, pointing toward a small meadow about 50 yards away. Maya looked where Jackson was pointing. At first, she didn't see anything unusual, just trees and grass. Then she saw movement. Something large was walking across the meadow. Maya's breath caught in her throat. It was a wolf. A beautiful wild wolf with gray and white fur. The animal moved gracefully through the grass, stopping occasionally to sniff the air. But that wasn't all. As Maya watched, more wolves appeared. First one, then another, then 3 more. It was an entire pack. Maya counted 7 wolves total, including what looked like 2 young ones. Maya looked at Jackson. Even through the night vision goggles, she could see the excitement and joy on his face. This was what made him happy. This was what he did every night. He watched wolves. Jackson carefully pulled cameras out of his cases. He set them up on tripods and pointed them toward the meadow. He worked quickly and quietly, taking pictures and recording video of the wolf pack. Maya watched in amazement as the wolves played and hunted and moved through their territory. She had never seen anything so beautiful and wild. She understood now why Jackson looked so happy after his nighttime trips. This was incredible. The wolves stayed in the meadow for over an hour. Jackson photographed everything they did. He seemed to know each individual wolf. He pointed out the pack leader, the mother with cubs, and the young wolves who were learning to hunt. Finally, the wolves moved on, disappearing into the trees on the far side of the meadow. Jackson carefully packed up his equipment. "We can talk now," he whispered to Maya. "But we should keep our voices down." Maya pulled off her night vision goggles. "Jackson, that was amazing. How long have you been doing this?" 3 years, Jackson said. "Ever since the pack first showed up on my land. Your land. This is all part of the ranch. About 5,000 acres total. The wolves live here now." After seeing the wolves, everything changed between Maya and Jackson. The secret they now shared made them partners in a way that Maya had never experienced before. It was exciting and scary at the same time. Maya started going with Jackson on his nighttime trips 3 times a week. She learned to move quietly through the forest, to set up cameras without making noise, and to recognize each wolf in the pack by sight. Jackson taught her about wolf behavior, showing her how to read their body language and understand their social structure. "That one is Luna," Jackson whispered one night, pointing to a female wolf with distinctive white markings. "She's the mother of the 2 young ones, and that big male is Storm. He's the pack leader." Maya watched Storm through her camera lens. He was magnificent with thick gray fur and intelligent yellow eyes. "How do you know their names?" "I named them," Jackson said. "I've been watching them so long they feel like family." Maya understood what he meant. After just a few weeks of observing the wolves, she felt connected to them too. She looked forward to seeing Luna's playful cubs and watching Storm patrol his territory. The wolves were beautiful and peaceful, nothing like the dangerous monsters that some people imagined. During the day, Maya's cooking took on new purpose. She prepared special meals that would give Jackson energy for their long nights in the mountains. High-protein breakfasts, hearty lunches, and dinners packed with nutrients. She also made trail mix energy bars and thermos meals that they could eat during their wolf-watching expeditions. "You're spoiling me," Jackson said one morning after Maya had made him a breakfast of steak, eggs, and homemade bread. "You need fuel for all that hiking," Maya replied. "Besides, I like taking care of you." The words slipped out before Maya could stop them. She felt her cheeks turn red. Jackson looked at her with an expression she couldn't read. "I like being taken care of," he said quietly. Maya felt something flutter in her chest. She was starting to realize that her feelings for Jackson were becoming more than just professional. She cared about him as a person. She worried about his safety when they were tracking wolves through dangerous terrain. She loved seeing him smile when he got a perfect photograph of the pack. Jackson seemed to be feeling something similar. Maya caught him watching her sometimes when he thought she wasn't looking. He started finding excuses to spend time with her during the day, asking her opinion about camera placement or showing her the photos he had taken. One afternoon, Jackson knocked on Maya's door. "Want to see something cool?" Maya followed him to his study, a room she had never been inside before. The walls were covered with photographs of wolves, hundreds of them. Pictures of the pack hunting, playing, sleeping, and raising their young. It was like a gallery dedicated to the secret life of wild wolves. "Jackson, these are incredible," Maya said, studying a photo of Luna with her cubs. "You could sell these to magazines." "I can't," Jackson said. "Not yet. If these photos were published, people would know exactly where the pack lives. They'd be in danger." Maya understood. The photographs were proof of Jackson's dedication and skill, but they were also evidence that could put the wolves at risk. How long do you think you'll need to keep this secret? Maya asked. Jackson sat down at his desk. I'm not sure. I want to build a stronger case first. More documentation. Proof that the wolves aren't harming livestock. Evidence that they're actually helping the ecosystem by controlling deer populations. That could take years. Maybe. But it's worth it to keep them safe, Maya admired Jackson's patience and commitment. She was starting to understand that protecting the wolves wasn't just a hobby for him. It was his life's work. His passion. The thing that gave his life meaning. As the weeks went by, Maya became more skilled at helping with the research. She learned to use the cameras and recording equipment. She kept detailed notes about wolf behavior and pack movements. Jackson began to rely on her observations and insights. You're a natural at this, Jackson told her one night as they watched the pack hunt in a distant meadow. You notice things that I miss. Maya felt proud of Jackson's praise. She had never imagined that she would be good at wildlife research. But working with Jackson was bringing out skills and interests she didn't know she had. Their partnership in the field was creating a deeper bond between them. They communicated without words, moving through the forest like a team. When one of them spotted something interesting, the other would immediately know where to look. They shared the excitement of discovering new behaviors and the frustration of nights when the wolves didn't appear. One evening, Maya was preparing dinner when she heard Jackson talking on the phone in his study. His voice was tense and angry, which was unusual for him. Maya tried not to listen, but she couldn't help overhearing parts of the conversation. No, I haven't seen any wolves on my property. That's just rumors. I run cattle and horses. Why would I protect predators? When Jackson came to dinner, he looked upset. Maya waited until he had eaten some of his meal before asking what was wrong. That was Bill Morrison, Jackson said. He owns the ranch next to mine. Someone told him they thought they saw wolf tracks near the property line. Maya felt worried. What did you tell him? I lied, Jackson said. I told him I hadn't seen any wolves. But he's suspicious. He's going to be watching my land more carefully now. Is that dangerous for the pack? Jackson nodded. Bill hates wolves. If he confirms that they're living here, he'll organize hunting parties. He might even call the state wildlife department to have them removed. Maya could see how stressed Jackson was. The secret that had brought them together was also a constant source of worry for him. What can we do? We need to be more careful. We should probably cut back on our trips for a while, maybe just go out once a week until things calm down. Maya felt disappointed. She had grown to love their nighttime adventures. But she understood that the wolves' safety was more important than her enjoyment. Over the next few days, Maya noticed that Jackson was more tense than usual. He checked his property boundaries more often during the day. He bought new security cameras to monitor the roads leading to his land. He seemed to be constantly worried about discovery. Maya wanted to help Jackson feel better, but she wasn't sure how. Finally, she decided to do what she did best: cook. She spent an entire afternoon making Jackson's favorite meal, pot roast with vegetables and homemade rolls. She set the table with candles and her best dishes. When Jackson came in for dinner, he stopped in the doorway of the dining room. Maya, what's all this? I thought you needed some cheering up, Maya said. You've been worried about the wolves, and I wanted to do something nice for you. Jackson looked at the beautiful table and the delicious-smelling food. When he looked back at Maya, there was something soft in his eyes. Thank you. This is really thoughtful. As they ate dinner, Jackson seemed to relax for the first time in days. They talked about lighter topics: Maya's life before the ranch, Jackson's memories of growing up in the mountains, their favorite foods and movies. Maya realized that despite spending so much time together, she was still learning new things about Jackson. I never asked, Maya said as they finished their meal. Do you have family around here? Jackson shook his head. My parents died in a car accident 5 years ago. They left me the ranch. I was working as a wildlife photographer before that, traveling all over the world. When I inherited this place, I thought about selling it. Then I discovered the wolves and everything changed. You gave up traveling to protect them? I couldn't leave them. They needed someone to watch over them, to document their lives, to speak for them when the time comes. Jackson looked out the window toward the mountains. Sometimes I think they saved me as much as I'm trying to save them. Maya felt her heart ache for Jackson. He had given up his career and his freedom to protect creatures that most people would want destroyed. He lived a lonely, isolated life with only his secret work for company. You're not alone anymore. Maya said quietly. Jackson looked at her. What do you mean? I mean, you have me now. You don't have to protect the wolves by yourself. We're partners. Jackson reached across the table and took Maya's hand. His fingers were warm and strong from years of outdoor work. Maya, I don't know what I did to deserve having you here, but I'm grateful every day. Maya felt her pulse quicken at Jackson's touch. I'm grateful too. This job has given me more than I ever expected. They sat holding hands across the dinner table, the candles flickering between them. Maya realized that somewhere along the way, her feelings for Jackson had grown from respect to friendship to something deeper. She cared about him in a way that went far beyond employer and employee. Jackson seemed to be feeling the same thing. He lifted Maya's hand and kissed it gently. Maya, I need to tell you something. What? When I hired you, I was hoping for more than just a cook. I was hoping for someone who could understand this life, who could share this work with me. I didn't think I'd be lucky enough to find someone like you. Maya's heart was beating fast. Jackson. Before she could say more, Jackson stood up and came around the table. He pulled Maya to her feet and looked into her eyes. I'm falling in love with you, he said. I know it's complicated because of our work situation, but I can't pretend anymore that you're just my employee. Maya woke up to the sound of Jackson's voice, sharp and angry, coming from the kitchen. She had never heard him sound so upset. She quickly put on her robe and rushed to the main house. Jackson was on the phone, pacing back and forth. His face was pale and his hands were shaking. Maya could hear a man's voice on the other end, loud and aggressive. I'm telling you, Morrison, there are no wolves on my land, Jackson was saying. You're seeing things. Don't lie to me, Blackwood. The voice on the phone was so loud that Maya could hear every word. My hired hand found wolf tracks all over the north section. Fresh tracks. That pack is living on your property and you know it. Jackson caught sight of Maya in the doorway. His eyes were filled with fear and anger. Even if there were wolves, which there aren't, they'd be protected by state law. You can't hunt them. Protected my ass, Morrison shouted. Those wolves killed 2 of my calves last week. I've got every right to protect my livestock, and if you won't deal with them, I will. The line went dead. Jackson stood holding the phone, staring at it like it had bitten him. Jackson, what happened? Maya asked. Jackson set the phone down with trembling hands. Morrison found wolf tracks near his property. He thinks they killed some of his cattle. He's organizing a hunting party. Maya felt like ice was forming in her stomach. Can he do that? Legally? No, but that won't stop him. Morrison has friends in the sheriff's department. He'll claim the wolves are a threat to public safety. Jackson ran his hands through his hair. Maya, we have a serious problem. Maya's mind was racing. The wolves they had grown to love were in danger. Storm, Luna, the playful cubs, they could all be killed because of fear and ignorance. What are we going to do? Maya asked. Jackson slumped into a chair. I don't know. I've been documenting the pack for 3 years, but I'm not ready to go public yet. I don't have enough proof that they're harmless. People will still be afraid. Maya sat down across from Jackson. What kind of proof do you need? Scientific studies, official wildlife reports, data showing that wolves actually help the ecosystem, proof that they're not killing livestock. Jackson looked defeated. That kind of documentation takes years to compile. We don't have years. Morrison is probably gathering his hunting party right now. Maya was quiet for a moment, thinking hard. Then she remembered something from her old life in the city. Jackson, what if we don't have to convince everyone? What if we just have to convince the right people? What do you mean? At the restaurant where I worked, we had customers who were writers and journalists. One of them specialized in environmental stories. She was always talking about wildlife conservation and how media attention could save endangered animals. Jackson looked up with interest. You think a journalist would write about our wolves? I think the right journalist would love this story. A secret wolf pack returning to their ancestral home. A rancher risking everything to protect them. It's exactly the kind of feel-good conservation story that people want to read. Jackson was quiet for a long moment. Maya, if we contact a journalist, there's no going back. The whole world will know about the wolves. We'll lose our privacy, our secret. But the wolves will be safe, Maya said. Public attention might be the only thing that can protect them now. Jackson nodded slowly. You're right. But I'm scared, Maya. What if people read the story and decide they want the wolves gone anyway? What if publicity makes things worse? Maya reached across the table and took Jackson's hand. What if it makes things better? What if people fall in love with the wolves the way we did? That afternoon, Maya called her friend Lisa, the environmental journalist. Maya had to be careful about what she said over the phone, but she gave Lisa enough information to get her interested. A secret wolf pack? In ranch country? Lisa's voice was excited. Maya, this could be a huge story. Can you arrange for me to interview the rancher? I think so, Maya said. But you have to promise to present the story fairly. These wolves aren't dangerous. They're just trying to survive. I'll tell the truth, Lisa promised. That's all I ever do. When Maya told Jackson about the phone call, he was nervous but determined. Okay, let's do this. But we need to be smart about it. If this story is going to save the wolves, it has to be perfect. Maya and Jackson spent the next 2 days preparing for Lisa's visit. They organized Jackson's 3 years of photographs and research notes. They mapped out the pack's territory and documented their behavior patterns. Most importantly, they planned how to safely show Lisa the wolves without disturbing them. Lisa arrived on Friday evening. She was a small woman in her 40s with short gray hair and bright, intelligent eyes. She listened carefully as Jackson explained his research and showed her his photographs. This is incredible work, Lisa said, studying a photo of Storm with his cubs. How have you kept this secret for 3 years? Very carefully, Jackson said, and with a lot of help from Maya. Lisa looked at Maya with interest. You're the cook who became a wolf researcher? Maya smiled. I'm the cook who fell in love with wolves and the man who protects them. Lisa raised her eyebrows. There's a love story too? This keeps getting better. That night, Maya and Jackson took Lisa into the mountains to see the pack. Lisa was amazed by how quiet and graceful the wolves were. She took her own photographs and interviewed Jackson about each individual wolf. They're beautiful, Lisa whispered as they watched Luna playing with her cubs. People need to see this. Over the weekend, Lisa interviewed Maya, Jackson, and even Tom and Carlos, who admitted they had known about the wolves all along. We figured it was Jackson's business, Tom said. The wolves never bothered us. They actually helped by keeping the deer population down. Lisa also spoke with local wildlife experts and conservationists. She was building a comprehensive story that would show the wolves as beneficial to the ecosystem rather than a threat. On Sunday evening, as Lisa was preparing to leave, she had concerning news. I stopped by the local diner this morning, she said. People are talking about Morrison's hunting party. He's planning to start searching for the wolves tomorrow. Jackson's face went pale. How much time do we have? My story will be published online tomorrow evening and in print on Wednesday, Lisa said. But Morrison might move faster than that. Maya felt panic rising in her chest. What if he finds the wolves before the story comes out? Then we need to make sure he doesn't find them, Jackson said grimly. Early Monday morning, Jackson and Maya packed enough supplies for several days in the mountains. Their plan was to find the wolf pack and stay with them, using their presence to deter any hunters. It was dangerous, but they couldn't think of any other way to protect the wolves until the story was published. They hiked deep into the pack's territory, further than they had ever gone before. Using tracking skills Jackson had developed over 3 years, they found the wolves' current den site in a rocky outcropping near a stream. For 2 days, Maya and Jackson camped near the wolves, documenting their behavior and watching for any signs of hunters. The wolves seemed curious about their extended presence, but not alarmed. Storm even approached their campsite one evening, studying them with his intelligent yellow eyes before trotting back to his pack. On Tuesday evening, Jackson's phone buzzed with a text message from Lisa. Story is live, going viral. Check the website. Jackson showed Maya the article on his phone. Lisa had titled it, The Secret Guardians, a love story between Wolves Land and the humans who protect them. The story was beautifully written, with stunning photographs of the pack and heartwarming descriptions of Jackson and Maya's dedication. Look at the comments, Maya said, scrolling down on the phone. People love it. The comments were overwhelmingly positive. Readers were calling Jackson a hero and praising his commitment to conservation. Environmental groups were sharing the story on social media. Wildlife experts were commenting on the important ecological role that wolves play. By Wednesday morning, Jackson's phone was ringing constantly. News stations wanted interviews. Conservation organizations wanted to offer support. A wildlife documentary crew wanted to film the pack. But the most important call came from the state wildlife department. Mr. Blackwood, this is Dr. Jennifer Adams from State Wildlife Management. I've read the article about your wolf pack and I want to help. We're prepared to offer official protection for the wolves in your land. Jackson was almost crying with relief. What does that mean? It means the pack will be classified as a protected species under state law. Anyone who hunts them will face serious criminal charges. We'll also provide funding for continued research and habitat protection. That afternoon, Morrison showed up at the ranch with 3 other men and hunting rifles. But instead of being able to search for wolves, he found 2 state wildlife officers waiting for him. This property is now under state protection, one of the officers told Morrison. The wolf pack living here is protected by law. If you set foot on this land with weapons, you'll be arrested. Morrison was furious, but there was nothing he could do. The publicity from Lisa's story had made the wolves famous and beloved. Killing them now would be not just illegal, but hugely unpopular. Maya and Jackson watched from the porch as Morrison and his friends drove away, defeated and angry. Is it really over? Maya asked. Jackson pulled her into his arms.